This is a podcast by the Straits Times.
Hello and welcome to Pop Vultures, a pop culture podcast by the Straits Times. My name is Jen Lee, and that is Yosim Joe.
放肆！本宫是储秀宫的高贵妃 from Yanxi Palace, alright? I'm Imperial Noble Consort Gao from Yanxi Palace. How dare you call me what you just called me? 你这个丫鬟。
I'm sorry, okay? 奴婢有罪，娘娘饶命, okay?
In case you are confused, it's because Jen and I are dressed up in full Chinese palace period drama today.
Yes.
I am Imperial Noble Consort.
From Yanxi
From
Palace,
Yanxi Palace.
高贵妃. I am run of the mill. Got my outfit from Taobao.
Mail order
servant.
Maid servant from Taobao.
Yes. Qing Dynasty servant.
And it shows.
Yes. Hey, your friend's one, okay? It's not even my own costume. Sam Joe borrowed it from
No
me.
lah, you look cute, you know that. In fact, you look a little bit like 还珠格格.
Oh God, 还珠格格.
Which I know is one of your
nostalgia.
favourite
We'll
shows.
touch on it.
Anyway, what are we here for today, Jen?
Yeah, basically, the Story of Yanxi Palace or Yanxi Gongryeo was one of the hottest dramas. In fact, it was the hottest drama in 2018, right? One of the most Googled dramas of all time last year. Has been streamed over 15 billion times, you know? So it's huge. But Chinese palace intrigue dramas, right? Or these Hogong harem dramas have been like huge hits for a while. Like, you know, in 2011 there was 甄嬛传, my fave. I know 延禧攻略 is your fave, but you know, we have different tastes. Yeah. So the thing is, despite it being so immensely popular, there has been a state crackdown on period dramas, and
I know,
especially they singled out Yanxi Palace. They have pulled the airings of Yanxi Palace off TV, so you can't watch it on TV anymore. It is still available on streaming.
The
yes.
audacity, 大胆包天.
Yes.
Anyway.
I think it's 胆大包天.
胆大包天, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But I'm really saddened by this crackdown, okay? I mean,
Yeah.
they crack down on it for various reasons, but one of the reasons is the fact that they twist the historical narrative. So that's
Yeah.
one of the things we're going to look at closer today, you
Yeah.
know? Whether or not these shows actually portray historical characters and
in an accurate way.
Circumstances in an accurate way. How much of it is fact, how much is fiction. And then we're going to share with you our thoughts on the ban itself and what it means, you know, for all these shows, for us as Chinese people.
For the Chinese TV scene, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, so why did the state media crack down on Yanxi Palace? So they list out 5 sins, right, that the drama had. So one is the pursuit of extravagant and luxurious lifestyle, you know, because the
It's
Qing
royalty
Dynasty,
after all.
it's royalty, you know, they all have like the best silk, the best teas, the best food, blah blah blah, all this gold. Yeah, so they're saying that this extravagance and this opulence is bad for society. It doesn't reflect society's values.
Right.
You know, it's not frugal and everything. And then another one is because of infighting and backstabbing and scheming.
Oh,
like
yes.
this,
My favourite
yes,
part.
Because there's a lot of this scheming like concubines, right? So they think that's also not good for society.
They say that it deteriorates social values,
Yeah,
right?
social values. And then it also sort of glamorizes the past lifestyle of Qing Dynasty, right? It glamorizes like the past rulers and all of that. And China is a bit sensitive to those kind of things. You know, they don't like it when you look back on the past fondly. They don't like that nostalgia because, well, the modern China and the Communist Party was built on tearing all of those things down.
Right.
So
right.
that's not great. And then also the fact that all this shows focuses a lot on commercial profits, they earn. In fact, they do earn a lot of money.
A lot of money. They rake in the
So,
chips.
Yeah, and the Chinese government has been a bit, you know, ever since the Fan Bingbing tax evasion thing, it has been a little bit, you know, touchy on things like that. They don't want the entertainment industry to be so overly profit-driven, to be so overly, you know, caught up in the values of money instead of, you know, promoting what China wants them
Right,
to
all
promote.
these capitalist values over like communist
capitalist
and more
values.
Confucian ones, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And also another reason is that they twist historical narratives, that they feel that it portrays a false image of these historical characters.
Right.
Yeah. So today we're gonna look a little bit at that, okay? The false narratives and everything. And we'd just like to quickly say that actually this crackdown has had some ramifications. You know, production of period dramas have gone down a little bit. Because if they don't want to air your stuff or they keep delaying your drama, then you will be discouraged to make it.
Yeah, why do I even bother, right?
Yeah,
Like,
why
you know,
bother?
People may not even get to see it.
Why take the risk, right?
Exactly.
So actually, the production of period dramas have gone down a little bit in China.
Right, in terms of numbers, yeah. So speaking of one of the reasons why they're clamping down, right, they claim that, look, these dramas, twist historical narratives. They tell like a lot of untruths. So now we're going to look at that. How much of these shows are actually fact and how much is fantasy and fiction, all right?
I think we all just like to say that people watching dramas don't really expect it to be true to history. I mean, it's clearly a drama.
Yes.
At one point, Wei Yingluo summons the thunder or something, or
Lightning to strike Yu Taifei.
Yeah, and I'm like, hello, that doesn't happen. We all know it lah, you know. Of course, creative liberties are taken. But one of the issues is that Qing Dynasty palace dramas are set in an era which did exist in history and are often based off characters who did exist.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes they do bring in like folklore of what happened to these characters. So when we look at Hoifa-Nara, right?
Right, the Step Empress of Qianlong Emperor.
The Step Empress of Qianlong. She basically went from having everything to losing everything. She was empress, we know that. But there's very little historical evidence of her life. You know, a lot of traces of her have been destroyed in history, erased from history. She did not get a grave that belonged to her specifically. When she died, she was given a very bad funeral that was not befitting of her empress status.
Of her rank, exactly.
Yeah, and then like he took away all her servants and everything. It was brutal. Okay, it was pretty brutal.
So we know that somehow the two of them fell out, right?
Yes.
Even though they were husband and wife, but they fell out, and he treated her like, you know, not so nicely towards the end of her life.
And basically banished her to the Leng Gong. Yeah.
But nobody knows what actually happened. And so a lot of these shows actually latch on to one particular narrative, which is the fact that she cut her hair.
She cut her hair. There is some...
Which is a big deal.
There is some historical evidence that maybe she did, but we don't really know. It's not it's not able to be verified.
Cutting her hair, by the way, for a wife to cut her hair in Manchurian customs is a huge taboo. It's a huge no-no.
For anyone to cut their hair, it's like cursing you to die or something. So it was a huge thing, okay?
It basically says you are divorcing your husband, you know, which back in the day wasn't very heard of.
Another thing that we feel... and it's really funny, is all the medical stuff.
I love it.
So okay, Hoifa-Nara, perhaps she cut her hair, perhaps she didn't.
Yeah.
But the medical stuff, we can surely say is false.
Yeah, I mean, okay, come on, guys. Like, you know, some of us love our TCM, traditional Chinese medicine and everything. But knowing what we know about, like, you know...
fertility and everything
and people's health and everything today, a lot of the scenes portrayed in these shows are really, really improbable. Do you want to give us an example?
Yes, it was like, so this woman, basically, she didn't want this woman to have children. The empress didn't want this woman to have children in Zhenhuan. So she let her drink this medicine that keep her from getting pregnant for the longest time. And then when she got in trouble and she needed to get pregnant to gain favor with the empress just said, drink this. And she immediately got pregnant.
I know.
I'm sorry. What?
It's like, wow, pregnancy is so easy, is it? You
know? you don't just go from infertile to fertile in one day. Correct. It doesn't just happen.
Same thing happened in Yanxi Palace as well. So when Wei Yingluo or like consort Ling, right, you know, entered the palace, and she actually didn't want to get pregnant.
Yes.
So she secretly, like, you know,
drink some herbs.
Yeah, she drank this like Bi Tai Tang or something, you know, which basically it means that, you know, she cannot get pregnant even though she
stop yourself from getting pregnant.
Even though she was really popular with the emperor, if you know what I mean, especially at night. So that's what happened. And then in another scene, like the Fucha Empress, oh my god, love her as well. Like, you know, she really wanted to get pregnant, and like her servant, who later turns really evil, Qing, okay, Sitala Qing, she actually gives her this pill, and she immediately gets pregnant after that.
It doesn't make any sense. You don't just get pregnant randomly.
I know.
Then the best part is in Zhenhuan Zhuan, there is one part where the empress doubts that Zhenhuan, who is the noble consort, doubts that Zhenhuan's kid is his. And it's actually not his. Spoiler alert, it's actually not his. And so they went to test the paternity of the child, and they do this thing where you prick the blood lah. Then if the blood mix, that means you are parent, and that means you are father and son. Right. If the blood doesn't make, then you are not father and son. That has no scientific basis, guys.
I know. Yeah, let's talk about like forensic science and everything. They
were
ahead of their time.
Do you know how long it takes to like do a paternity test? You think it's just like freaking, I prick my blood. Oh my god, it mixes. Yes, you are mine. No, it doesn't make sense.
So we can all agree that some of these plot lines were straight out, like, you know,
straight out of left field. Yeah, it was crazy. Yes.
But some actually, talking about ridiculous, some real life events that did happen were ridiculous.
Was insane, yeah.
Were indeed insane, right?
But real.
And they did happen. So it's not completely unimaginable that things like that can happen.
If you like this episode of Pop Vultures, you can subscribe to us on Google Podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, or go on to the Straits Times podcast channel. So like and rate us and tell us what you think of our podcast. Going back to what's ridiculous but real.
In palace period dramas. Just to set the scene again.
Yes.
And to explain why we're in these ridiculous costumes, which I
Yes.
love.
Okay. So there is like a lot of palace intrigue dramas are based off like people scheming and backstabbing and doing stuff to one another, beneath the surface.
Yeah.
And people are like, really? Do people do that last
Where
time?
got so drama last time, please?
But unfortunately, it was that drama last time. It
Tell
was
us.
drama, mama.
Tell me,
For
spill the tea.
example, Empress Dowager Cixi, very, very, very famous Empress Dowager, who basically was in part responsible for the fall of the Qing Dynasty because she was so opulent and led such a crazy lifestyle. She was very upset when Guangxu, the emperor of that time, had a concubine called Zhen Fei. And Zhen Fei was very close to the emperor, and Zhen Fei and basically Empress Dowager Cixi wanted a lot of power. So she and like Guangxu emperor were in sort of a power struggle. And Zhen Fei was on the side of the emperor. And Cixi was hella pissed at her, right? So eventually when Pa Guo Lianjun, like other like soldiers from other countries invaded China, Cixi took Guangxu and ran. And then when she was running, she actually said, you know what, we are not going to bring Zhen Fei because, she's too young, she's going to be a lot of trouble. But we also don't want her to stay in the palace. And what if, something happens between her and the foreign soldiers? So let's just kill her. Yes, and guess how they killed her? They killed her by pushing her into a well alive.
No!
And the most amazing part of this story is this well exists in the Forbidden Palace. You can actually go and see it. It is called the Zhen Fei Jing. It's literally called the concubine Zhen well.
Wow,
because
it's named
where
after
she
her.
died. Yeah.
Right.
In the end, I think her remains were gathered up from the well and she was buried somewhere else lah.
my
So
God.
she's no longer inside there.
This
But
is like some Japanese horror film.
yeah,
like,
rumours say
but
it's
in
haunted.
China. Yeah, of course.
Yes.
I mean, hello, do you not watch The Ring, Sadako, Crawling Up the
Yeah,
Well? Hello.
it's
She
crazy.
totally haunts that place. Okay, so
And
these dramatic plot twists
they
were
did happen. They did
totally,
happen, you
like,
know.
true, What I really appreciate about shows like Yanxi
Mm-hmm.
and the rest of them is that they pay so much attention to historical detail, especially for Yanxi when it comes to like the sets and the props and the costumes. Yeah, let's talk a bit
Yes.
about that. They really paid a lot of attention, and for example, the Manchu women, they love flowers in their hair.
Yeah.
So like you have flowers in your hair right now, a very
Ronghua,
big.
yes.
Vonghua, which is actually velvet flowers. So sometimes they would use fresh flowers, but some of them also would use velvet flowers that are made from silk velvet wrapped around copper wire, and they would like put it in their hair. And it's like really nice animal and like floral ornaments basically to decorate.
Feathers as well.
Feathers.
Yeah.
They use kingfisher feathers to kind of like decorate their hairpins and accessories. It was all very, very delicate handicraft, craftsmanship, very ancient craftsmanship that now today in China only a few people, you can count them on like one
In fact,
hand.
it's almost gone. Tell us about the pearl cape. The pearl cape. It's
Yes.
not actually a pearl cape that you are wearing.
Which I am
but-
wearing, yeah. So
Yeah.
that in the Qing Dynasty, there was actually this tradition of wearing this what they call a yun jian, which is a cloud shoulder. It literally translates into
It's a
cloud
cape
shoulder.
lah, yeah,
It's
it's basically
literally
a
like
little cape.
a little round, kind of like bib thing that you wear around your neck.
Yeah.
And my favorite character from Yanxi, she wore a very stylish one called it was made of pearls. And legend has it, because I watched one of the interviews that the actress did, and she said that her character Gao Guifei, right, left it behind after she died, and many years later, when Cixi rose to power, Empress Dowager Cixi rose to power, she actually wore the same pearl.
So she
cape.
inherited the
She
pearl
inherited
cape
it
lah,
from
yeah.
one of the earlier concubines.
So it's very possible that what they
Yeah.
wore actually did exist.
It did exist.
Yes,
And-
because there's so much evidence of the Qing Dynasty now. You can go to exhibitions, museums, and you can see a lot of their costumes.
yeah, and in the paintings also you can see that's why you are wearing
Yeah.
this night scarf, Jan. Like this
Yes.
neck scarf.
I was like, this is a very ugly neck scarf, but yes, I am wearing a neck scarf and it did exist.
It's cute, for when you drool, you can like clean up after yourself.
This
it's
looks like
cute.
kindergarten kids drew it, lor. Never
It's-
mind, okay.
Okay, anyway, we digress. So, and then, the finger guards that they wear on the hands to like protect their fingernails and to also at the same time make them look more dainty, which is why I am
and more
very weird today.
also more powerful, like shows off their wealth.
Exactly, because a lot of it was made of gold, especially if you're the empress and deserving of gold.
Okay.
So a lot of these were accurate because they were so well recorded, right? It was the Qing dynasty after all.
It's the closest to us. It only ended in the early 1900s. So there's still a lot of, like in year 2000, there were still people who like lived during the Qing dynasty who existed. So it's not that far, that they could actually get reliable sources to study to research. For their shows and dramas. Yep. And the thing is, there are a lot of Qing dynasty dramas. So there's another thing that I thought it might be good to mention. Why is it that there are so many Qing dynasty dramas and compared to other dynasties? Because there are so many dynasties with harems. In part is because the Qing dynasty, as we said, is the closest to us, the most well recorded, so it's the easiest to make dramas about them. Also in part because of the 还珠格格 influence. So 还珠格格, like 20 years ago, was this huge Qing dynasty drama about this princess who gets lost and blah blah blah. It's a whole thing, right?
Yeah.
And it replays every single year in China without fail. It reruns every single year. So when that era feels so familiar to you, you see it all the time, right? Then it doesn't feel. I guess in part it cultivated a popularity for that dynasty. And also, this is one of the theories that people speculate why there are so many Qing dynasty dramas. During the Qing dynasty, the big threat to the Qing dynasty were outsider threats. Was like 英法联军, was like British, French, the Dutch and things like that. So those were outsider threats, and it's very easy to do a drama that doesn't touch on that, it still remains sensitive to what China is like today without touching on some ethnicity issues But in say the Ming Chao, right? In say Ming Chao, which is the dynasty right before Qing, which also had harems, the big threat was the Qing dynasty. The big threat was the Manchurians. And the Manchurians still exist today with the Chinese people. They are part of China. They are one of the ethnic groups.
Right. So to reflect their to reflect their time and to reflect their struggles, it could actually potentially like dig up a lot of
a lot of
cans of worms.
Between the different ethnicities.
Right. So they rather not go there, but they do go to the Qing dynasty, and we love a lot of these dramas. So back to the ban. Why are they banning it? And what do you think?
Sad.
What do you personally think? Is it fair? Because at the end of the day, these are dramas, but they're not documentaries. So is it fair to hold them up to such historical scrutiny?
No, of course it's not fair. History is there for you to study, but dramas, you should interpret. You should take some creative liberties with it. And literally no one is watching Zhen Huan Zhuan and Yanxi Palace and thinking that all of these storylines make sense and will happen in real life, I think you can give audience a little bit more credit, right? I think we are smart enough to filter out some of these issues, some of this is not true.
For sure. On the one hand, you can understand, the Chinese government's concerns, right? Talk about hard work and frugality versus opulence and decadence, everything. Obviously, they want to promote, good societal values. We know the Chinese are very big on, their policing moral behavior right now. They have their social credit system and so on. And a lot of these, they feel like, all these opulent lifestyles also promote capitalism in a sense, which is,
not their values.
Not very communist values, to say the least, But come on. What I'm trying to say is that other modern shows, right, set in the present day or any other era, they also promote backstabbing and scheming and career-minded people who are all about the profit and everything, So
you need some bad people. You need some tough shit to go down for drama to take place.
Exactly, and I think that also a lot of bad behavior in these palace dramas don't go unnoticed, and they do get punished. For example, you get struck by lightning.
You get struck by lightning.
Which, by the way, was a very common occurrence in the Forbidden City back in the day because it was very lightning prone and there were a lot of fires.
God.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
or you get pushed down a well.
Yeah. So not completely out of the ballpark actually.
But again, the thing is, if China's not gonna make these shows, who will? If Chinese people don't take control and make shows about our own history and our culture and our heritage, who will make it for us?
Right on, yeah.
Yeah,
I know.
so...
And then you let someone else take control of the narrative and next thing you know, they'll be whitewashing it like what they did with...
The Great War.
The Great War. And here's the other thing, come on, when it comes to censorship, okay, when you say that you want to correct history, you know, or when you want to make sure that whatever information that's being shared is accurate or like right. I mean, I feel like that's a slippery slope to begin with.
Yeah,
you know,
it is.
You start now, what's next? You know,
Yeah.
you already know that the upcoming Madam Whitesnake adaptation has also been pulled, right?
It has been delayed for an indefinite amount of time. We don't know when it will come back on air.
And Madam Whitesnake, as we know, is folklore.
It's folklore. It's not even like Imperial Palace. It's straight up fantasy.
Right. So what are they trying to like, you know, police in this case? I don't really know, you know.
And come on, we love the fashion. The fashion, the colours, the nails, the hair, and the scheming.
The scheming, right? Yeah. And I think the fashion and all that also, like, is just such an homage to our heritage and tradition.
Yeah, you
know?
can see where the qipao evolved from, you know? It's
Exactly.
so interesting.
The one-piece Manchurian robes, like that later became more and more tight-fitting to the qipao we see today.
And then the embroidery, oh God, so beautiful.
Yeah,
so,
the same way that I guess a lot of us Peranakans enjoyed, like, you know, Little Nonya, you know?
Yeah.
Because you can see the craftsmanship behind, like,
the
a lot
lace,
of... Exactly.
Yeah, the batik.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting. Like, it's soft power, you know? It's culture. And when you promote interest in your culture, I think that means something, you know, within China, outside of China, for the Chinese diaspora.
Yeah, and we do know that a lot of people, you know, I mean, it was the most Googled TV show of 2018. Okay, so you're talking about people not just in China, but outside of China, showing such interest in your, in stories that come from your country and from your history and from your heritage. Like, I feel like that's something that's worth embracing, you know.
Exactly.
I mean, if Singapore could have something like that, people so interested in our history, you know, I would, like, kill for that. Maybe.
Yeah,
Wrong
we
word
have
choice, but
we
you know
have
what I mean.
enough Mary Queen of Scots. We need more. We need
For those
more
who don't know what
Yanxi.
happened, Jen just like yanked her headdress off accidentally. Are you okay?
I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay.
And that's it. Okay. That's your dose of pop cultures for this week.
On that note, thanks so much for tuning in. If you have any feedback, you know, write into us at podcast@sph.com.sg. Also tune into our other episodes. We talk a lot about K-pop, J-pop. We talk about Oscars,
Seungri, the Seungri scandal, Michael Jackson. Yeah.
and many more to come. Let us know what you want to hear next.
Okay, I'm ending this very hastily because my hair is all over the place. But that was Yo Sam Joe.
Gao Guifei, you mean? How dare you? No.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And that was Jen Lee.
And we are
Pop Vultures.
That's it for this week. Goodbye.
再见.
That was an SPH podcast. Find us on iTunes, Google Podcasts, and streaming on Google Home. Do send your feedback to podcast@sph.com.sg. You can also check out more podcasts on various topics at straitstimes.com and bt.sg.